quite recently, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, kind of the shared vision by the politicians of Iceland was that Iceland was supposed to be like an international banking hub. So you can just imagine what happened during the collapse of the total banking system. We kind of lost our identity. However, there are some good things that we believe that happened during this crash, is that the government did not decide to bail out the banks. So we let them go bust. That's how capitalist system is built up. So what would be a vision of a nation? 1,500 members of Iceland from a random sample. We invited them for a visioning session based on the methodology of the wisdom of crowds, where we are basically capturing the heartbeat of the nation's creativity. Try to crowdsource our shared values and vision. About 6 months later, the Parliament of Iceland decided that they would use the same methodology and to have another National Assembly to crowdsource and gather input for a new constitution for the country.
What happens when you get like 1,500 people in one single room? What we basically were fed into our platform was on one hand text, and on another hand some metadata about where the text came from. And we analyzed the things that everybody was saying, and then we had a pretty awesome data set from that meeting, like the entire voice of a subset of our nation. And we did some like fun things with that. We started comparing our senators and members of parliament to the voice and the vision of the nation. And we started seeing which one of our officials are really in sync with the people.
The Best Party is a political party that was formed in January of 2009.
2010.
Yes.
Yes.
2010. Sorry. In 2008, in October, all of our banks, our privately owned banks, collapsed in 2 or 3 weeks, leaving us completely baffled, and we didn't know what had happened and hit us. We made up this really useful word, which is sustainable transparency, which is hard to explain, but it works. It's just to explain it. It's a way to trust the process. But what we tried to do as much as we could was to sort of shine a light on the whole political system with using satire and sort of surreal things to point out how ridiculous the whole political system in Iceland really is.
The reason for I'm here today is that the universe of Yvonne Line is 360,000 and the Icelandic nation is 330,000. Our best practices is almost always when we crowdsource, when we have the crowd, or in this case the Yvonne Line players, when they are the ones who tell us, the developers, how to develop the world of Yvonne Line, the universe. What the best thing about this is the real experience the player have. It's not pre-decided experience like a roller coaster ride. And we also have a what we call a CSM. It's a Council of Stellar Management. It's a council of 9 members, and those are all players, active players that have been elected from other players, and these 9 members are very actively in communication with the developers of the CCP of Yvonne Line. So this sounds like a really good way politics could also work.
I saw last year. I was very excited to see how the Icelandic Media Initiative really took off as a whole grassroots thing and kicked off a lot of the changes in Iceland. How did this figure into the panel when people were bringing this up for discussion?
But we had this bill that we were hoping that would give any journalist anywhere in the world a free haven in Iceland.
Is this something that now facilitates people to be able to discuss what they would like to see from the government and being able to enable them to crowdsource what they're looking to do better as well?
I think some of the big discussion after, when you get the whole nation to discuss our vision, we start to discuss, well, even though we are a very tiny island, can we have a role to play in the world? So we are trying to think a little bit outside of just the Atlantic Ocean around us. We have also discussed that Iceland is a kind of like a laboratory. It's a laboratory for a kind of a new world model. Some of us think of that, and what we are doing now within the grassroots with crowdsourcing our vision and values, etc., is a kind of a new development of democracy.
So my last question for the panelists is, in one sentence, what should we know about Iceland? What should we take away from what you're doing there?
Just the tremendous amount of creativity and joy.
I think the banking crash was the best thing that could have happened to Iceland.
We are like poor of money, but we are very rich in humanity at the moment.
And there are 3 times more sheep in Iceland than humans.